Thanks for tuning into Dexter New Blood Who Dis podcast. This is Michelle and
Ref Marsh.
This week we are watching The Family Business, and we're super stoked because this is episode 9. Apparently there's only 10 episodes slated for this season, and I know a lot of fans are getting really antsy saying, oh, please tell me that there's another season, but I personally am not really caught up on that. I'm just like enjoying what I'm watching.
Yeah, no, I'm caught up in it. I'm definitely in that camp. I don't understand how I'm supposed to get, in 2 episodes, a nice little bow on this and think, well done, that story is done, don't need to revisit that. We're barely scratching the surface here, and you're going to give me 2 episodes and say you're doneski?
Well, I've had a theory that if you do kill Dexter off, which, I mean, you kind of had to have that thought at some point just because of the nature of being a serial killer and, you know, the whole last regular Dexter. I mean, he thought of himself, like, you know, what if Deb kills him, or what if all these other things happen to him, right? So in this one, I'm at this point like prepared for him to either be accidentally killed or intentionally. Like I'm kind of expecting it in the back of my mind. And also the fact that this is New Blood it lends itself to it's focused on Harrison and what's going to become of him, essentially.
No. So, if I were to fantasy book my way out of that.
Fantasy.
This is what. So, Dexter gets killed by the cop. What's her name? Angela?
Angela. Mm-hmm.
Angela kills Dexter.
Okay.
Harrison kills Angela. Goes on the run. New series, Harrison First Blood.
I could see that. I mean, I've said it since, like, I don't know, a few episodes ago that I do think that Angela, if given the opportunity to, when she finds out about everything Dexter is, I do think if given the opportunity that she would kill him, unlike Deb, who hesitated and shot LaGuardia instead of Dexter and regretted it forever. I think she would definitely do it.
Yeah, she would kill him. She wouldn't even think twice about it. She doesn't like him because he lied about his name. Boo-hoo.
Yeah. And this last episode is just so, it was like heart-wrenching, but it was great because I felt like we're finally coming to that point where Dexter and Harrison are able to have a conversation.
They're united. They hugged it out.
They hugged and it was emotional. Yeah.
It was great. Fantastic. So I'm excited to see how the family business goes. Teach your kid the ways of the business, the secret trade. You know what I mean? Like any good carpenter, you teach your kid how to murder.
That's not. I don't think that's what. No.
That's the impression I get. It's like plumbing, but murder.
What?
Yeah, you teach your kid how to plumb if you're a plumber.
I don't think you do.
I think I do. I think that's what I would teach my kid. That's what it. So I'm excited about the family business to see where it goes from here. He starts teaching him the code, I'm sure. So,
I am very interested in this episode specifically because Scott Reynolds, the writer, he had put out on his podcast and I think on social media that this is like one of the best things he's ever written. So I'm super, super curious because that means he had to put a lot of thought into this. This isn't just haphazardly put together.
Yep. Well, we'll be the judge of that. That's what we're here to do. Critique people in their professions.
Without having any professional background in this whatsoever.
None. No experience, no background. You couldn't find a couple better armchair quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Well, what I would have done.
Yeah. So super excited to see what he's cooked up here.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take a stab at it.
Here we go. So as Dexter is describing the code to Harrison, he says, I would never hurt family. And Deb looks at him like she's shocked, as if she's saying, really? And Marsh and I just looked at each other because, it's kind of like I mean, he didn't do it intentionally, right? He didn't ever mean to hurt Deb. If anything, he was always trying to protect her.
Yeah, but Deb's been coming off as like a guilty conscience a lot of it. And,
True.
I mean, she's only there because he feels guilty about her death. So it's almost like her looking at him like, you don't hurt anyone, then why am I here? I mean, you've never hurt family? Explain me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if he's ever going to really delve into, hey, yes, this is an outlet. However, just know that everyone around me who's ever gotten close to me has died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's just, I'm sure, really close to his chest. But I also feel like he's doing him a disservice if he doesn't try to warn him.
Yeah. Well, I suppose he also murdered his brother, but that was different.
Yes. But I don't know if he's going to get into that. I feel like that's really important. However, it's tricky, right? Because you don't want to scare Harrison. At this point, I mean, he's already telling him, yeah, I kill. It's fine.
Yeah, but he also murdered his brother to save his sister.
True. However, in the end, did it really matter? Because Deb still she still died due to his actions.
Due to him not killing someone. The lesson is always kill. Yep. And
I don't think that's the lesson.
Well, that's what I got out of it.
Okay, well. No.
Dumbass.
Okay.
Dumbass.
Okay, so we are going through where Dexter's deciding to really share all the intimate details of what he does, right? Who he really is. And what happens, Deb holds him back from sharing his ritual. So you think, okay, so he's not going to share, hey, I like to slice the guy's cheek and keep a blood slide. Fine. But then she also says, once you tell him you're a killer, you can't go back. He hesitates for a moment and says, fine, I won't tell him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. And it is disturbing.
So there's a lot. Let's roll back just a minute, too. One of the things I'm loving about this flashback, they're using all original score from the original Dexter, which we haven't got any of during the New Blood, because it's all very new, very different. We've talked about it before. The sound of it has to be its own, and it is its own. It's more chaotic.
Yes.
Or even some of it seemed like withholding in ways, right?
Yes.
Even in the very beginning episode, it was not even Dexter score at all. It was the legitimate radio songs. The idea that we're having this flashback and it truly is classic Dexter and doing what classic Dexter does, already from a production standpoint, dope. The idea that he wouldn't share the trophies is already nerve-wracking, because if he's going to teach the code, which if you're talking about the code,
right.
we'll talk about it in a second, but if you're going to teach this kid the code and at some point he starts to murder, let's say I'm going to tell him I'm a murderer, he knows to identify trophies. As a serial killer, he identifies trophies. That's one of the ways he hunts them, is looking for their trophies, figuring out what it is. I mean, Trinity, remember the trophies were the houses he built in the area. He had the plaques, date and time. If you don't teach if you're teaching someone to be a serial killer and you're not teaching them how to have trophies, it seems to me like you're really missing a fucking that's a big one.
It's a building block that you're missing, but I'm so torn by the really just, I'm just not going to tell him that I actually kill. I'm just, that is the biggest thing for me, because you're already at a point where you're saying you're going to be completely honest. I have to tell him everything. Well, now you're not. Now you're pulling back again.
Yeah, pulling back again.
In a huge way. This is a huge part of Dexter's Dark Passenger. I mean,
it is the entirety of Dexter's Passenger, and it is the entire purpose of the code. The code is not how do you control violent urges. It's how do you direct your violence into murdering the right people and getting away with it. That's the code.
Yeah, the code isn't, well, I pin him down and I tell him what he did wrong. And that fixes him, Harrison says. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But Dexter lies, and he's like, "Yep, that's the reason. Yeah, he never did that again." And I'm just like, I'm so mad. We're fuming, because you can't, at this point of being brutally honest with Harrison, I just don't think you can lie to him. It's dangerous.
Not even on this level, because it doesn't even make sense anymore logically. From an argument point of Dexter, I have violent urges. I know about your violent thoughts. Here's how I channel it. I investigate people and yell at them. What? Like, that doesn't do anything for your violent urges.
Yeah, I just feel like doing this can cause more harm, because then Harrison won't have any real direction, and he'll make up the rest on his own, and who knows what the hell that will be.
Yes. What is he going to do to twist the code into something else?
Right.
And if you're not teaching him how to keep trophies safely, because one of the things about the blood slide was he took something from the body that couldn't be discovered necessarily, right? In that it wasn't the tooth fairy taking a tooth where you notice a tooth is missing.
Right.
It wasn't jewelry where you go to pawn it or someone finds it and they know who it's associated with. What made the blood slide so perfect was it was a part that you didn't know was missing.
Just to segue off of that, part of me has always wondered whatever happened to the makeshift blood slide that Dexter took from Kurt's son, right? Because we never really saw what happened to it. I know you could say, oh, well, maybe he just threw it in the fire with the body parts, but I don't feel like glass would get destroyed by it. So part of me is wondering in the back of my mind, is that going to be the thing that Molly or Angela find that does him in?
Well, glass melts. If a fire is hot enough for a bone,
okay,
then glass could. But at the same time, we don't know that he tossed it in there. I always assumed you just put it in the bag with the rest of the parts, but who knows?
I just feel like he was so sloppy in the beginning of this series that I don't know for sure what happened to it. And part of me is wondering if that's going to come back to haunt him. But nevertheless, he's not sharing all of this truth with Harrison. And I really think this is going to come to bite him in the ass.
It's not even like not all, like there's a part of it. This feels like the majority of the point of this conversation is being missed. Because if you're not telling him you kill, and you're not telling him about trophies, you're not talking about violence. And the whole purpose of this conversation is to talk about the violence and how to control that and what the code is for. It has to blow up in his face.
It's almost as if he's like what he does with so many people that he used to in the original Dexter, that it's almost as if he's hoping that they would figure out what he's not saying, right? So I'm going to hold back these truths and let's see if they figure it out, right? And regular people wouldn't figure it out, but maybe Harrison would. He's got to read between the lines to figure out what I'm not saying, what I really mean, which is a really crappy thing to do to a kid that's still going through all these emotions, right? He just doesn't know what the hell is happening.
And think of it from even the perspective of, I have to tell you everything. I'm going to tell you everything. Fast forward even a month from now where he goes, well, here's the deal. I did not tell you anything. Like,
I didn't tell you everything, but I told you everything, right?
Yeah, I told you like everything, but like, look, I told you like not much. So we should sit down again and revisit. Like,
I told you breadcrumbs, basically. Yeah. Like, I hope you followed through, because if you didn't, I don't know. Those breadcrumbs are supposed to sustain you.
Yeah. It's like, the idea that he pulled back on those two things is immediately like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
But then again, do you blame him? Because you have Deb, his guilty conscience, nagging at him like, what the hell, man? So it's a real like gut wrencher, this one. This is just like really pulling at us.
I can understand the apprehension of telling him you're a killer, and apprehension of even going from like, look, I'm not going to tell you about the blood slides yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like the idea of like, I'm not going to tell him that ultimately I killed them.
Yeah, the meat of the whole conversation.
Is he hoping that Harrison thinks he just beats them up, roughs them up, and that gets it out? Because at least I'm beating up.
Yeah, but then that negates the rule number 1, don't be found out. How do you make someone not share that information with authorities, right? Like, even if you're like, hey, I rough him up and I let him go. No, because you're going to get found out. So I don't even understand how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So, of course, immediately after Marsh and I say this last line, we push play, and Harrison says, wow, that's a lot. And so this obviously tells us Harrison isn't ready for any of this. He like already thinks that the conversation's so heavy, right? That we're talking about my violence. So he's still not ready to talk murder.
Punk little kid.
Yeah, Marsh thinks he's a punk little kid, but at the same time, I don't think you can hold back at this truth. And when Harrison even says, "Oh, so do you think Kurt's after us?" and Harrison's like, "Oh, I'd be 500 miles away from now." It's just it's so aggravating because you're like, still he's trying to be what he thinks in his mind is a good dad and protecting Harrison, but this is doing the exact opposite, right? This is just making him, if anything, more vulnerable. Oh my God. So the moment when Dexter is shooting it is watching Harrison shoot, right, with the gift that he gave him, big gun, and he like withholds information. He says, I can't tell Angela all of this. And Harrison says, "Oh, right, because you were doing vigilante shit and she wouldn't get it." And Dexter says, "Please," in his inner monologue, he says, "Ask me what the plan is, just to stop Kurt from hurting us." And it's like, I just look over at Marsh and it's just like, God damn it. Like, why can't he share this instead of hold it and keep it an inner monologue? I'm so torn at this.
I mean, I guess the idea is you got to ease him into it, and I think maybe the thought is that if he asks if he can help with the plan, that maybe if he watched the way that it plays out, it'd be easier for him to get. Plus, he'd be a witness and an accomplice, so it's a little different than confessing flat out and saying, "Hey, yo, dude, I'm a serial killer." If you're an accomplice in a killing, you know what I mean? It might complicate the idea of Harrison maybe turning on him.
He's giving him leverage.
Yeah.
Or he's wanting leverage from him.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was also surprising. It's a little surprising because of how they built Harrison up, of how shocked he is to learn that, wait, Kurt's a serial killer? Oh my God. Like, he looks genuinely concerned, and you're just thinking, wow, I thought Harrison was a bit more in the know, and he's definitely not. He really is just some innocent kid.
Yeah.
I mean, his street smarts are just so low in comparison to when Dexter was young, right? Dexter just always had this like sixth sense, right? The lizard brain. And Harrison, I feel like he thinks he's got it. He thinks because he's been on his own, right, in foster care, that he knows what it's like, but he really doesn't have this sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, it really takes you back when you think about how far along he's got to go with Harrison to really explain the truth.
Yeah.
All right, so the scene where they go to Angela's house, right, for Harrison and Dexter go to Angela's house for the Christmas gift exchange. It's a little odd because we don't see any conversation of what had happened the episode before, right? Angela is, for some reason, just totally cool with how Dexter is now. She's like, "Oh, hey, sweetie," and they're just lovey-dovey again. It's really bizarre.
Dexter kisses her, says he loves her. She's clearly being a little apprehensive because she's searching all that stuff, right? But the last time we saw them talk about the relationship, she told him to go fuck off because she didn't know his real name. And then when she called him for the cave, she says, "I don't need Jim. I need Dexter."
Right.
And that was like the last they've talked.
Yeah, so it's a little odd, kind of jumping all over the place in a sense, because we didn't see any sort of closure or understanding, right? So to go from fuck off to, "Oh, hey, love you too," and gift exchange is really odd. Like, gotta say, I know the details for everything else are here, but I feel like this detail is kind of lost, and you're just supposed to kind of go with it.
Yeah, the last time was, how could I ever trust you to love you, see you on Christmas? And he's like, see you later tonight. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah, and I get that she's trying to be cool and not raise suspicion, but again, no conversation on if this is fine, we're going to continue being an item.
yeah,
So really, really strange.
yeah.
So we've got Dexter and Harrison. Dexter accidentally pulls a tripwire that he doesn't realize, which is still very shocking that he doesn't notice all of these details, right? That he used to be so sharp on. But he pulls a tripwire on the secret lair, right, where we assume where he's keeping his trophies, and it's just crazy that like they have no weapons on them. I mean, maybe Dexter's got a knife on him, but he doesn't have, they don't have guns or anything. And Kurt has like a big missile rifle.
Yeah. And not only does he have a rifle, but we know that he fires it off in that area all the time without getting caught. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all he's got to do is go in there and light him up.
Yeah.
Or go in there and lock the fucking door above them. Now they're stuck
Yeah.
down there forever. What the fuck?
Yeah, and Kurt got an alert, so he immediately knows where they are as he's trying to, destroy their home, set it on fire, thinking that they're there. But Dexter doesn't even park like hidden, right? He parks right at the location that they're at. So it's just, I just feel like they're missing all of these like really important details that he wouldn't have missed in Last Dexter.
Well, even he knows that they're there. He literally saw them on camera. Like, he pulls out his phone and it's like one of those Ring apps where you can just see what's on the camera. Like, he sees them going down there. This, to me, just feels like...
It's so sloppy.
It's anxiety ridden for me. Like, they're in an area where he could just walk over, kick it shut, and block it back up. And then what? What are you going to do? You can't get out now.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do? Scream, yell? No one's going to...
Yeah.
Your house burned down.
Yep.
Like, they're in the most perfect position to just be locked away and forgotten about forever. He can leave them down there for months before opening that thing back up.
Yeah. It's a little crazy just to me, like just how sloppy Dexter is in thinking that he's just like one step ahead. He's so far removed from what he was, I feel like.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like, I have no idea how they're meant to get out of this. Which probably is the point.
Yeah, it's wild. Oh my God. Holy crap. Okay. So Dexter and Harrison are walking down this hall. They finally find the trophies, and it's what we always thought, taxidermy, right? Human style. And oh my God, the last body that they turn the lights on is Molly.
Yeah.
Fucking Molly. No.
When would he have got her?
Well, there was a lot of time between that last episode and this one, apparently, because in this episode early on, we have Angela trying to call Molly, right? As she's on her podcast listening to the Bay Harbor Butcher episode, she called Molly. It goes straight to her voicemail. I didn't want to say anything, but I thought that was possibly a reason. Oh, maybe she is going to meet up with Kurt or something like that, right? The fact that we see her now already dead, already formaldehyde, we didn't see this kill. Yeah. They saved this most shocking kill. And it's a real bummer for me because personally, I love this character. I so wanted her to continue on with Angela. I want her to live. But this could be, unfortunately, the saving grace for Dexter, because I think that Angela would have done a lot of work with Molly in figuring out, this Bay Harbor Butcher getting down to, what's up with Dexter. Now with Molly gone, she's got no one to confide in.
Yeah, and no one to bounce ideas off of on that level anymore.
Damn.
I want to go back and rewatch some of this stuff and see if there's any moment where after we see her last, because I think the last time we saw her was when they saw each other in the diner.
Yep.
I want to check, see if there's any moment where it's like nighttime and you just hear a gunshot in the background or something crazy, because I bet you there's some clever little, that's the moment Molly dies. You know what I mean?
Well, it's wild because the last time we saw Kurt, right, he was running away from Harrison and Dexter when when he was about to kill Harrison. And then at that point, there's some time that goes by, and Dexter thinks he's in the clear, and he and Harrison show up to Angela's house for Christmas to exchange gifts. And who shows up but Kurt, bearing gifts, right? And I think there's somewhere in between that part where he gets away with it again.
Maybe.
I mean, it's wild. I did not think that they were going to throw that on us.
No, I was certain Molly was going to be the undoing of Dexter. I thought she was going to be so involved in this Bay Harbor butcher thing with Angela that she was going to uncover it. She was going to be like, holy shit, what do you mean it's Dexter Morgan? And she was going to be like, look, check. The only reason I didn't suspect Dexter is because he's already dead. You know what I mean? Like, I thought she was going to undo it all. And I was actually shocked that she didn't recognize Dexter from the get-go, because I'm thinking between her research on the Trinity killer and her research on Bay Harbor Butcher, I was like, how did she not know what Dexter looked like? Because he was a victim in the Trinity killings, and he was
He was involved so heavily.
Well, not only was he involved heavily in Bay Harbor, but I think if she's investigating the Bay Harbor Butcher, saying that she thinks it's somebody in there, but maybe not Dokes, you'd think she would look over all of Miami Homicide.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's hard to do when you're an outsider without any actual internal links. However, I'm so bummed right now. I'm aghast, and I know that was like this is like, you know, probably the season's biggest shocker. Because she was such an important character. I never thought that she was a nothing character. Like, I kind of always thought that she was going to be the one that just gets by, right? That maybe doesn't understand how much information she actually has.
Yeah, and this explains why he was so mad at the girl for getting shot in the face. You ruined everything, because this is how he displays them, as we talked about. He probably displays them in a taxidermy style way.
Yeah, we definitely thought about that.
This is such a crazy hallway of bodies. It's like
it's so eerie.
Yeah, it's one thing to have like with the tooth fairy with the teeth. Like I said, you look at the teeth and you just remember, or people who keep jewelry and stuff. This one where he's just literally looking them all in the face.
I thought for a second, like in the back of my mind, I was imagining, okay, if the first death was in a cave, I thought for sure that his displays would be in some hidden underground cave. Like, I didn't think it was going to be this man-made, like, perfectly sterile display. This is like eerie. The way that they're all dressed, almost like angelically, like they're just, oh my god, it is so eerie. This is wild. Yeah. And you've got this look of shock on Harrison's face, and Dexter is just like, okay, like, all right, now I know what I got to do. Like, this is proof. However, we're at this point where we don't know where the hell this is going to end, right? Because they're stuck downstairs. They've got no weapons that we can see. Like, how is this going to end well for either of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The part where Dexter finally admits to Harrison, and Harrison asks, "Did you kill the clown?" Dexter says yes. And then Dexter says, "Yep, and I did the same thing to Trinity. I killed him for what he did for your mom." That got me so mad, because that's a lie. He did not do that. That's not the order that it happened. It happened in that he killed Trinity, then found his wife in a pool of blood.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why Dexter feels the need to lie in this moment of truth, where Harrison is open to listening and understanding. Like, it's so frustrating. And I don't know if that was intentional. Like, I gotta think that this was an intentional line for Dexter, right?
I think it's a psychological thing. I think that with Dexter, he killed Trinity because he was going after his family.
Yes.
He was threatening Rita. He said he was going to kill Rita. And then he thought he got to him beforehand and then didn't. So in his mind, he wrapped around that he did it to protect Rita, only it didn't protect Rita. So in his mind, he's twisted it into, I did it to avenge her.
Okay, so you think that's his actual truth?
I think that's, the way he feels about it. The way he's come to terms with it.
All right, because
That the justice was served for killing Rita, and whereas before the justice was going to be served to protect the family and the other things, this was now, there's justice that was had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just pissed me off because I'm like, no, Dexter, that's not what went down, man. Like, Like, that's what you wanted to happen, but that's not what actually happened. What actually happened was way more tragic.
Yeah.
And I just, again, I don't think this is protecting Harrison. I think this is doing like a total disservice to him. And
I think the details that could be explained later easily.
all right, okay.
I think in this moment he's got to tell Harrison, he's got to give him that hype going. Got to be like, we gotta kill this dude, rah, kill him, yeah, kill him, rah.
And Harrison's already like, all right, this dude has to die, and Dexter's like, all right, let's do this, dude.
Do it.
So this is by far the most brutal, raw Dexter has ever been. And like we said, this Dexter New Blood is completely different from the old one. The old one, I feel like, was very rosy, rosy flower. You didn't see any of the actual gore that was happening. This Dexter New Blood, you see as, the murder actually happens, as Dexter and Harrison are about to do away with Kurt. Dexter does kill Kurt. And you see the disposing of the body. He warns him. He warns Harrison, like, hey, you don't have to watch, but I'm not done here. And Harrison says, no, I'm ready. And you see just like the gore of the cutting of the arm that we've never seen. The actual like flesh being like torn off. It was just like really, really just like raw, brutal,
the body
gross.
Shaking as he was sawing with the handsaw.
Yeah, like the actual logistics of it that we never really got to see, and I was fine with in previous Dexter. This is really like lifting the veil off of what Dexter sees, right? It's no longer just his viewpoint of, oh, it's fine. It's all just, it's vigilante stuff. It's totally cool. I'm doing this for the right reason. Now we've got Harrison's viewpoint of, oh my God, this is real. This isn't just, I want to kill someone. This is like how this actually goes down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the dialogue that goes on between Kurt and Dexter in his last moments were just so gut punching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you had Kurt actually confront Dexter and say, "Hey, does Harrison not know that you killed my son?" And he says the exact words that Dexter would use. He said, "No, I did it, because I killed these women because I was saving them, right?" And it's exactly how he described the people that he killed, what he did, right? Why he's justified. Oh, well, I'm saving so many women. And Harrison even confirmed that. He said, man, Dad, you're like saving so many women. You're doing such a great job.
Yeah, but you also think about when you really break down the Matt story, Matt barely fit the code. He killed people and got away with it, but he wasn't a serial killer.
Yeah.
And it was
like a twisting of the code almost.
Yeah, because even the friend said, like, they were playing chicken, and he goes, and the guy veered left, but then he veered into him. Like, yeah, he did it intentionally, but is he doing it habitually? Is it within him to be capable of doing it again? Probably, but do we know he's going to do it again? Not necessarily.
Also, did he really think he was going to kill people?
Yes.
Was the other bit that I remember thinking that originally it was a little off to want to kill Matt, but I thought, oh, he just needs this to begin again. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily want him to fit the code exactly. He needs just to get this started because he can't hold on to not be killing any longer.
Yeah, and then if you think about it the way Harrison's looking at it, through Wiggles with a ton of kids, this dude with a bunch of women, he assumes the ones in the middle are all the same. Here's someone you see with a habit, a pattern, a serial killer who's going to continue to doing it. Trinity, constantly doing it. The idea that he knows Trinity, Wiggles, and Kurt, and now knows Matt, well, is killing Matt saving anyone's life? Maybe. It's not definitive, not the way with the serial killer. Right.
Yeah, and it was just is really haunting because you're seeing Harrison, right, who's just this new, like, just this innocent kid who, yeah, he's had urges, but he hasn't actually killed anyone out of his own will, right? When Dexter was a kid, he would actually kill animals.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about any of that with Harrison. You just hear that he has these thoughts very different from actions. So,
well, and he attacked that kid and bled, and then he cut that girl's foot and was really into the blood that came out of it in a weird way. So
that's still not taking it as far,
yeah.
right, as death. So this was just really eerie because you're wondering, like, with these similarities that Kurt is saying to Dexter, and Dexter understands full well, like, we think the same, even though we're not exactly the same.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder, does Harrison pick up on this, right? Is he seeing in the future, like, oh, you're kind of like Kurt. You're not much different.
Yeah.
And is he seeing his future? Is he connecting that?
Yeah, and whose side is he on this one, mentally speaking? Does he see Kurt's point that you're just like me, or does he see Dexter's point in we have this same dark passenger and I've harnessed it to protect and you harnessed it to attack? Where's Harrison going to lie on that one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Harrison still, in the very end, he still needs a guide, right? He can't go without some sort of direction. Yeah. He's learned that he can't bottle it up. So at this point, where is he gonna go? Yeah. I mean, he's stuck in the middle of this. He is now watching his dad chop body parts up. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this is wild. This is like so crazy. And the whole time, we have no idea if Angela is outside of Kurt's home, right? Just waiting for them. Yeah. Or notices that their Jeep is right outside this weird little bunker, because she does go to try and find a podcaster and to find Molly, and lo and behold, she's already checked out. So she's probably wondering where the hell she is. Yeah. Oh, I better check with Kurt, because she had a bad feeling about Kurt.
Yeah.
So,
well, at this point, she has the podcast recording, right? So
that she'd never leave behind.
Yeah. So I assume Angela's likely going to go back and try to listen to the last however many minutes of it before making her next move. What's the last thing she recorded? So I have a feeling that after this, we're going to see Angela at home listening to the recordings, which is the only reason why I think she wouldn't be at Kurt's yet. You know what I mean? But she could be. She could be.
Yeah, I really just wonder how this is going to end, because you do have just all of these victims in Kurt's bunker, and you want to make sure that he's found out. But how do you do that without, giving them Kurt in some way?
Yeah.
All right, so this was a wild episode. So much happened in this episode. So we end with Harrison and Dexter come back to their home, find it burned down, and everyone's already there, right? It's being put out. And I thought this was kind of going to happen because we saw the fire happen, and just the amount of time that they spent, I was thinking, well, maybe they could use an alibi of we fell asleep in the woods, it was such a great night. And that is kind of what Dexter said.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a great night and lost track of time and all that. So they end up going back to her house, to Angela's house, and there's something slid in the mailbox that's obviously from Kurt.
Yep.
But here's the part I don't get. Kurt didn't know he was going to die.
No, but he did have the idea of just running away. So if he had that thought of, I'm just leaving town, let me leave these tidbits that will lead a trail to Dexter, I mean, he could have just thought, screw you, Dexter, obviously, because he went to go burn his house down. He thought, I'm going to do whatever I can to just ruin your life.
So time-wise, then, you're saying that he went to burn down the house, expecting to murder Jim and Harrison, sees that they went down to his little cabin thing, and then says, well, I better go back to my office and give the chief a note, and then go back to my house and run.
I mean, he could have had that prepared and then ran to, I don't know.
But why would he have had it prepared if he was going to kill Jim Lindsay? Like, what purpose is it giving her that note?
Yeah.
Right? And then the note also had all the titanium screws from Matt, which also, as it stands, proves nothing. Because first off, unless they're serialized and somehow in some medical record tagged to Matt, which maybe they are, then they're just medical screws. Secondly, why would you having the insides of Matt Caldwell prove that Jim did it?
Right.
It's not like you planted those in Jim's house and said, hey, go look, he's got this fucking trophy. You know what I mean? Like, you handed over all of the evidence to her without any connection to him other than, trust me, it was him.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this next episode is going to show how Dexter can divert the conversation, right? Because he's really at this point training his son, Harrison. He's training him how to be stealth, how to be, right? This is how I cut the bodies up. This is what I do. I'm one step ahead. So I would think that when that happens, maybe he's thinking, well, you know what? I've got evidence in my back pocket. Let me lead them. Let me give them some breadcrumbs to go find this whole series of victims that Kurt has. Because if you put all eyes on Kurt's victims, then who cares about Dexter at this point?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm especially knowing that that Angela's best friend was killed by Kurt. I mean, if you've got Molly down there, like, that's more than enough evidence to be like, oh my God, Kurt is actually the killer.
Yeah.
You know, so I think Dexter could actually use this in a way to divert attention away from him.
Yeah, but it'd have to be clever.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be very, very clever. He's gotten very sloppy, but if he can do that, he can actually be training Harrison into how to be, like, improvise, how to be clever on the spot, creative thinking in that sense. Because Harrison is like just he's not the greatest. He's not the best at keeping secrets. He's not the best at keeping his emotions down. He's really all over the place. And a part of me is like, I don't know if we can trust Harrison. The way he looks at Dexter sometimes, he's like amazed that he's a serial killer and almost scared.
Yeah.
And he was almost having a panic attack when Dexter was cutting Kurt's body up and the blood was pooling near his shoes. He had like a flashback of Rita in the bathtub. So you got to wonder, like, is this going to be something that he's going to be able to do? Or is he going to ask Dexter, hey, how did you actually get over, the trauma? Because he never did, really.
Well, yeah, but also at the same time, he might just need to come up with his own method, right? The whole reason that Dexter chops them up is because his mom was chopped up. He's telling Harrison that's how he does it, but it doesn't mean that's how Harrison has to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think this was such a wild episode because it's called The Family Business, but I don't know if Harrison's down for it. And we didn't really have conclusion that he is approving, because the whole time, Dexter says you can go outside if you need a minute, almost uncertain himself, you know. And at the very end, you can see Harrison is trying to convince himself.
Yeah.
Right? He says, as they're throwing the body parts in the fire, he says, oh, so, this is what you do, but you're doing this to save, X amount more women or victims. And Dexter says, yeah, exactly. This is the idea, right? So he's giving him like an in of, this is how you justify it to yourself. But you don't see that Harrison's completely sold.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a tricky way to end the series.
Yeah, we got one episode left and they're going to wrap this up. Bullshit.
Are you going to let Dexter live, or is he going to die by Angela or Harrison's hand?
Yeah, and if Dexter dies, then you could still reprise a spin-off of Harrison, First Blood, as I've coined it. And you could have Dexter be the new voice, the way that Deb is now and Harry was previous. You could have Harrison doing it, and you could have Dexter popping up and a lot closer to Harry was than Deb is. A lot closer to the good job, my boy. Are you sure you want to do this?
Right.
Don't forget the code.
Right, because the previous streams of consciousness, Harry and Deb, were not serial killers themselves, right? So this would be new in that Dexter would be, I mean, essentially what is possible for Harrison.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think fans would really freak out if Dexter did die. You would have, I feel like all of the internet would explode. But I do think, I think I would be okay with it because, you know, people seem to forget that Dexter killed his own brother, his brother who loved him and said, I will accept you no matter what. Yeah. No one else is able to do that, even Deb, right? It took her a really long time to actually come back after knowing what Dexter was. So I feel like...
She really was never the same either.
No, it ruined Deb.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we're okay with Dexter having killed his only brother, I think we have to be okay with the idea that Harrison could kill his father.
He also doesn't have to be the one to kill him for Dexter to die.
I'm just saying, if that's an option,
yeah,
I'm saying fans would have to be able to accept that.
No.
If that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's the way they're going. Yeah. I'm just saying we don't know if there's going to be another season.
Yeah, we have no idea what they're doing here. I don't know why they would do this to us and then just end it. Yeah, we got one episode left, though.
But it has been definitely a roller coaster of a season.
Oh, yeah. This episode was killer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it was deep in that it showed the similarities between the serial killers, right? Between Kurt and between Dexter and his victims.
And how Dexter's always showing them their victims. Like, this was kind of an interesting visualization where literally all the victims are watching him. And at the head of the table right there was Molly watching over, which is also the irony of that, of the, you know, marry, fucking kill, obsessed with it, you know, always afraid of being you know, I could have ended up my own stories, you know what I mean? Here's one where she was a victim in the own story, and here were her eyes on the end of it, effectively. So it's also kind of like, now it's also where two of her stories meet, right?
Yeah.
She was investigating this one. She already knew Bay Harbor Butcher, like this, you know what I mean? It's, I just liked the placement of putting Molly right there on the end and having her watch it all unfold, in a sense. Like, obviously not literally watching, but watching.
And I thought I had that theory early on that Kurt thinks he's doing them a favor, the victims, and he is. And it was just wild to see that play out and to see Harrison's expression of understanding that Kurt is saying the same thing Dexter is saying. And so it's just like, we don't know where Harrison's going to stand this next episode. Or we don't know. I don't know whether or not to trust him, or at the very end if he goes on Angela's side and turns on Dexter and says, he was just an influence on me. I didn't know what was happening. He could do that and be fine. Yep.
Don't know.
Well, thank you for tuning into Dexter New Blood Who Dis podcast, fan podcast. Like, subscribe, do all those things. Follow us on WOTR the show. And let us know your thoughts, theories, how you're liking this season, what you think's going to happen next, what you want to see. We're really interested in just this whole show. I mean,
yeah. They're doing a bang-up job on it. I'm just frustrated that we're getting one limited series. You're going to do this? So, yeah.
I will take whatever I can get Dexter-wise. I mean, if it's one series, if it's, 7 more, I'm cool with it, because I just think we're so lucky to get these creative writers, or, the directors, all these great actors. Like, I'm super loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for taking a stab at it with us.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
Killing it.
Okay. Really?
What I said?
Oh God.